It's the cold hard truth. Everyone really want to know what's going on with her show. Just get on the air and you will know it's Sandra. The queen of the mile road is here, helping people from everywhere. Get on the phone and you will hear Sandra. Now she will tell you how it goes, but don't you ever step on her toes, 'cause you will hear the cold hard truth from Sandra. They say she's the hero in town, helping people from all around. You get a call, your money is found, it's Sandra. Some will call her late at night just to say that there is a fight, and she will not just leave it alone. She'll get up and call on the phone, and when politics starts on her show, everyone really wants to know the way the things will really go with Sandra. Some will start to criticize, get on the show and tell pure lies, but soon they will realize it's Sandra. And when they start to argue again, she'll pull the heads to the wind, and soon you will be a friend of Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wanna hear from Sandra. Every day everyone wanna hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone got to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone got to hear from Sandra.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Cayman. Happy Monday, August the 17th, 2026. We are here to discuss everything that is newsworthy. Hope you guys had a safe and wonderful weekend. And good morning. I see where all of the American news for sure and some of the international news sources are talking about the loss of another young celebrity life this morning. Only 26 years old. If I were a betting person, I would say probably look at their drug habits. Wow, so sad. Another Disney princess has passed away this morning. She was found unresponsive, I guess, overnight. So condolences to her family. And yeah, unfortunately, people get fame and money, and that comes with a lot of temptations and a lot of access. So we'll keep an eye out and certainly advise you of the official cause of death once it's performed. But I'm pretty sure they've already said that there's no foul play or suspicious circumstances. So most likely it is related to drugs of some sort. So sad situation. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to Shaka. How are you? Hope that you guys are doing well. And happy Monday morning. Just having a look here. Right. Okay. So a couple things we're going to be discussing this morning. Just give me a quick minute here. Your okay. Yes. Okay. All righty. Okay, so just explaining another technical issue to one of my content creators. And, it happens. Yes. Okay. All right. So let me just grab the links and reshare those with everyone this morning as well. I do need to get some feedback at some point to see if you guys find the reusable links useful. That method we've been using now for quite some time. That way in the morning, it's like the same link. But I think some of you actually go back in time and watch shows. So from that perspective, if you click that link, that will only show you the last episode that's showing because it's updated in real time. So some of you have said in the past that the original links would be useful. So let me know. I mean, we can listen. One thing about CMR is we can be very, very flexible with how we do things around here. There's no long chain of command to get to the decision maker. Yes, we can do things very, very quickly. So if you prefer us to go back the old way where we sent the original link every day, and then that way, those of you who follow the channel, if you wanted to see a specific day's show, it is the original link. So of course that would be available to you. So, I mean, I understand both methods and the logic behind both. You just have to let me know what your preference is, because I'm good either way. And, I can see both sides of this coin for sure. So let me know. Maybe we'll do a quick little poll a bit later on today, and you can vote in that poll and give us some guidance on what you prefer. All right. Oh, no, that's not what I'm looking for this morning. Hold on one second for me, folks. So I just clicked on this. Yeah, that was bizarre how Facebook just did that one. Okay. So hopefully you guys are okay this morning. Good morning to Shaka. How are you? Evelyn is here with us. My apologies. Lucky Body says she was only 36 years old. Yes, sir. Very, very unfortunate. I'm not incredibly familiar with her work, I must be honest. I've obviously heard of the name. Hayden. How does she pronounce her last name? But yeah, she was still quite young. And it's unfortunate. I woke up this morning to see all of it trending all over the place. Hayden Panettiere, is that how she pronounced it? I don't even know. Only 36 years old. Yeah. So, so there you go. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye and ear open. She did have a brother who died from a heart condition at the age of 28 in 2023. So possible there might be a hereditary link there. Not sure. Sometimes these things happen with very young people. They may not always know that there's something going on there. So, yeah, as we know more, we will no doubt hear it and be able to update all of you. All right. Yep. Morning, Barbara. Miss Barbara Damaris is here. Marshall. Over the weekend, we also had a loss in the local community in Cayman Brac. Mr. Foots, Cayman Brac artist Ronald Foots Keynes has died. And, I had the opportunity to interview him last year when I was in Cayman Brac as part of our Cayman Voices series. I interviewed two people on that trip. And I do need to go back to the Brac, in fact, because I've got a few other people that I need to interview. But he was obviously very colorful, unconventional, provocative. All those words certainly describe his artwork. And I got to tour basically what is his home and his art studio all at the same time. And let me just say, my apologies, that it was fascinating. I spent well over an hour with him, and we talked about a lot of different things, and he was very, very candid about his life, about his struggles. He lived alone, and he even talked about some of his past relationships, which I thought was really, really interesting. He was very, very candid. I don't think there was anything that was off limits. And so he was someone who preferred his own company to that of other people. And nothing wrong with that, I suppose. So he talked about, the love of his life, and he had a painting of her. You should go watch the interview. I've loaded it up again over the weekend. But he was very, very interesting. I mean, every single interview is different, and I think every single interview is also interesting for different reasons. But he's definitely one of the more interesting ones that I've done. Yeah. So he talked about the love of his life being this lady, but he just simply was not interested in marriage. And he was not interested in, I guess, what a lot of people want, marriage and kids. And he said, no, that's not him. And so, of course, after being in relationships with these women for long periods of time, they thought perhaps he changed his mind. And he's like, nope. And so that was the end of that. But it was interesting to hear him explain it and, talk a little bit about his family, his parents, siblings. So may he rest in peace. Yep. These Cayman Voices interviews are such an amazing opportunity to really capture a lot of the individual and collective stories of who we are as a people, both past and present. And I have such a good time. I'm trying to arrange a few now. Like I said, I've got a couple in Cayman Brac that I need to do. So I'm going to have to go to the Brac. And I do also have a few here. One gentleman's like in his 90s. So obviously I have to prioritize people based on their age, right? Lucky Body says, I remember her from being, from Bring It On, the Scream franchise, and the Ice Princess. Yeah, I think I've seen bits of Bring It On, but I don't think I've ever sat down and watched anything with her in it, but very sad situation. Morning, Delcy and Ben joining us from Pembroke Pines, Florida this morning. Felicia's here. Aliano, thank you so much. Beautiful Marva. I got to see Marva over the weekend. I went to a drumming event, and I'm going to tell you guys about that on tomorrow's show. We should have the footage of it ready. Absolutely beautiful. OMG. Our young people are so talented. I'll tell you guys all about that tomorrow. It's very, very nice. All right. The first substantive topic I'd like to get to this morning is young people. Lord Jesus. Young people, young people. Let me tell y'all something now. Okay? You've got to listen to Auntie Sandy. In this life, you will be making decisions at tender ages, pre-adult ages, but you're old enough to do better. Okay? Your parents may be doing a good job. I suspect a lot of them are actually not doing a particularly good job. And it's unfair, I know, as I sit here even saying this, to expect young people to raise themselves because they don't have the experience to do it, right? That is why we're supposed to be protecting them. There's a lot that they don't understand. That's why you have parents that should be older and wiser than you. And I suppose this is one of the downsides of having a parent that isn't responsible. And that theme, believe it or not, is going to play throughout the second discussion as well when we talk about baby Alissady. When you have parents that are not responsible, that have you when they don't even want you, I mean, sad as that sounds, I can tell you that that will be a detriment to your life. In times gone by, you had the village that helped with the raising of the children. And so the village often had people in it who were older and wiser. And so they could offer, advice on how to navigate this world. And also, if they didn't know how to navigate, they would help you by sometimes just giving you up to the grandparents, somebody else, as aunts, to raise you, and they did your job for you. I mean, it's never an ideal situation, but ultimately, the village was there to help. We have lost the village by and large, right? The village does not exist in the way that it did, even if it exists in some forms or another. And quite frankly, I think CMR is part of the community village. We're trying to keep y'all in the straight and narrow as much as we possibly can. That is part of what we do here. We're your conscience when you don't have one. You know what I'm saying? When you're thinking about parking in the blue spot, when you're thinking about going out and fighting in the streets, you might rethink it when you say to yourself, OMG, Mall Road's going to get a hold of this. But I really wish that mothers and fathers, because we put so much burden on women to be the solo caretakers of our children and impart all the knowledge and wisdom that they should have. I'm telling you that a lot of these women do not have the knowledge and wisdom themselves because they had children too young. They're too immature. They have no clue. They have not lived life enough. And sometimes it's not even at the length of life, it's the lack of experience. And so even for myself personally, I am so happy in many instances that I had my daughter later in life, because that process of growing up needed to happen. So the mother that I became in my 40s, I can tell you that in my 20s and 30s, I would not be this same person, right? I was mature too. I can sympathize. I wasn't doing quite as much as some of you because I grew up in a very different environment. And so my environment was, you don't go out in these streets and embarrass yourself. You don't go out in these streets and as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, winding up on men. That's not permissible by any standards. I mean, the thought of it makes me cringe because I am well aware that back in the day, if I had even thought about doing something like that, oh my God, my aunt would skin me alive. Literally, she would have. So now I feel like we have missed the boat on a lot of these elements of our communities. They no longer exist. And so as a result of that, our children are out here just flapping around by themselves, doing whatever they want, and nobody's reining it in. So on Saturday morning, we started to get messages about some young people, both male and female, by the way, who went to some Cooler Fete event over the weekend. And so we did a post about it. Now listen, does the Cooler Fete have an obligation, the organizers, to try to check IDs and stuff? That would be great. I don't have any high expectations of these people because I think that they're just in a money-making business. They don't care who comes. They don't care how much they drink. They don't care about anything that happens at their events. You know, whether people are getting sexually assaulted, whether they're getting drunk, whether they're fighting. Well, they might care a little bit about the fights because that will cause the police to come and probably, shut the event down. Everything else is fair game. And so that's why you parents need to pay attention to this. You need to understand that everything else is fair game. So what that means is that when you allow your children to go out there and get involved in these activities, right? Even you as a parent allowing them to go to these types of adult events, you are asking for trouble. A 15-year-old, as mature as they think they are, don't know how to navigate a lot of situations that they will find themselves in at these adult events. And so therefore, the only way to prevent this from happening is to stop your children from even going to these events. So I'm at a loss for how parents do it. How do parents allow a child to get dressed, put on an outfit, put on makeup, put on all of, the wardrobe is required to go to these events, and then turn around and get recorded publicly? They're recording themselves sometimes, other people recording them, and they become a spectacle in the community. So some of this young lady's friends were reaching out to me, trying to throw me off the scent, so to speak. And this is because, morning, Miss Ann. This is because they think that I was just born yesterday. Tomorrow is my birthday. Yay! I'm going to be 53 years old. Honey, chill. I was not born yesterday. I have seen a lot. There's a lot I haven't seen, thank God. But to think a little 15, 16-year-old can be WhatsApping me, messaging me, calling me to try to make me believe something that isn't true. Child, I'm getting ready to have my own 15-year-old. She's 10 now. I got a couple more years left. But I'm supposing these children will lie to you and they're going to try your patience. Yes? And you've got to be wiser than them. So I'm more than well prepared for her. She's not going to be using her head on me. Honey, child. And so, we are cognizant, because we were once children ourselves, of what children will do. I remember there was a kid when I was in high school. She used to like to dress like a boy. She's a real tomboy. I suspect she's probably gay. And in those days, you didn't know what gay was or whatever. I mean, certainly in high school, I never thought about anybody being gay or anything like that. That wasn't part of the conversations I was having. But she loved to dress like a boy, and she was very boyish in her mannerisms, like everything. But her mom would force her to wear dresses all the time. And honey, child, let me tell you something. She would get on that bus. She would take off. She brought a change of clothes in her backpack. She would take off what her mom made her wear right there on the bus. She'd have a little something underneath it, take it off, and put on what she wanted to wear, which was normally just jeans and a t-shirt. So I went to government school, and we did not have uniforms or anything like that in the States, right? So most of the government schools in the States don't wear uniforms. I don't know, might have changed since then, but so that was her. And I can remember her vividly doing this on the bus on more than one occasion, because her mom was trying to dress up like a little princess, and she's like, I'm no princess, I'm the prince, or whatever. So, we know some of the tricks of what these kids will do, right? You got to be checking backpacks. When your children leave home, how many of you, school's about to restart on the 26th, I believe, government school restarts. How many of you actually go through their bag before they leave the house? That's why they are sneaking vapes, marijuana, gummy bears, brownies, all kind of stuff in their backpack. Because when I hear stories about kids at John Gray getting sick off of gummy bears, I'm like, or brownies, special brownies, I'm thinking to myself, where do the brownies come from? So y'all can have children in your house who are making brownies, presumably, because somebody has to make them. They're getting up and they're baking brownies. You don't know that they're turning on the stove, that they're cooking in your house. And then they're taking brownies out of your house to other children and getting them sick. And y'all look like y'all don't know what's going on. You see, the system needs to start holding some of these parents accountable, and then they're going to wake up and stop playing. So, it's wild. Yeah. So your kids are on a Friday night getting dressed, wearing certain outfits. Y'all are making them wear wigs, lace front, adult outfits, all this makeup and stuff, right? And oh God, don't tell me about the makeup and how these little girls love to wear it, because I got one up in here. She'd be like taking my makeup and telling me, Stacey, I gave her permission. I'm like, you gotta be crazy. Every once in a while, I need to do a full inspection of her room, and I am going through every drawer, taking stuff out, confiscating makeup that does not belong to her. In fact, some people, when they gift children stuff, they like to give them these little kitty makeup kits. Don't do it. I've had a few of my friends do it, and I'm asking you, because once she opens it and sees it, you can't get it out of her hands. Do not give my child any such thing for birthday presents, Christmas, whatever. She don't need no makeup, right? These children have very delicate skin. They start to break out at a particular age, and all this cake on makeup and all this foolishness only makes it work. But I know little girls like to experiment and put on stuff. I get it. Even when she sees me putting on lipstick, she's like, oh, can I have some? And I'm not a person who wears a pile of makeup. You know, special occasions, I'm like, you can put on a little bit of lip gloss. That's fine. So it's just wild. Parents have got to be on top of these things. And when you're not, your children will suffer because of it. Now, I'm going to give you some video evidence of what I'm talking about. Here's the first one of this young lady who, again, was gyrating on some 30-plus-year-old man who could have easily taken advantage of her that night. And I'm not at a cooler event. I'm not expecting men to be like, oh, show me your ID so I can prove that you're of a particular age before I grab you, I hold on to you, I wind up on you, or whatever. That just simply is not going to happen. Not only is that not going to happen, but even worse than that could be happening to these young girls, right? And nobody at this event is going to be like, yeah, show me your ID. So this is where the issue becomes problematic. I'm just going to make one little adjustment to my camera. Just give me 1 second here. So I'm going to show you guys a video, and I want you to look at what your daughters are out here in the streets doing. Because if you don't know and you're clueless for whatever reason, right? That means that they're going to have ample opportunity to continue this behavior, and you need to lock it down. So have a look at this young lady. You see this right here? She's posting this kind of stuff on social media. First of all, I don't know what's in that cup, but I'm willing to bet it ain't water. Certainly not a good night Milo either. Okay? So this child is probably drinking alcohol in that cup. She's probably drinking liquor. But look at how she is dressed. If I saw her out in the streets, I would think this child is in her 20s, if not older. We got the lace front wig going on, full face of makeup, and look at this outfit. Wow. Boobies showing, side boob. Look at how short it is. Is that a dress or is that a, what do you call it, a onesie? That onesie is probably not the right word. But who is buying this kind of clothing for your children? Are they so mature at 15 years old that they can go out there and buy their own clothes? They have jobs? Look at the nails. I'm sorry, but there's no 15-year-old that can be in my house wearing no fake nails. You see, this is where y'all have lost the plot. My daughter has to keep her nails cut. Funny enough, the other day she said to me, oh, you know, because cutting her nails is always a situation. It's always an argument about why she must keep her nails cut. And I said, listen, there are reasons why. And I'm not one of those parents who is like, do as I say and not as I do. Or if a child asks for an explanation, I'm not going to give them an explanation. I believe in explanations. I said, look, you're a child. You're at school. You run around all day playing, right? You can scratch your own face. You can scratch your friends. You can break nails. You know, you haven't had a nail that is broken because it's too long and you catch it on something at school. And, you know, you're still learning how to write. You're not even holding your pencil properly. And y'all want long nails? I said, longer nails actually interfere with the things that you do. Yes, you can get used to it, right? So I keep mine at a manageable. As a matter of fact, I can cut them all down today. I tend to keep them at a fairly manageable length, but sometimes I grow them out a little bit, If I'm going on vacation, I'm like, okay, I'm going on vacation a month. I'm going to grow them out and, make sure they're nicely painted. I may do that. But a lot of times I can't be bothered because it just is like too much work gets in the way of me just grabbing something, worried about, I might break a nail. I don't even have the time to think about it. But I give her practical reasons as to why a 10-year-old child does not need any nails. And so you need to explain these things to them. And you also need to explain to me how these children are getting access, thanks, to these things to begin with. How does she get access to this outfit? How is she dressing like this? Who bought her this outfit? Did a parent buy this outfit? Evelyn says the backpack was searched at the door every morning. So I have a lot of questions, not only about how these children are allowed to even go to these events, but before they leave, you see she's here in somebody's house, in somebody's bathroom. Is she at a friend's house? And perhaps she didn't buy that outfit, but her friend's parents did. And so now, she is allowed at her friend's house to dress up and leave out the house like this. Once again, parents, you need to know who your children are hanging out with, what company they are keeping. That is your job, your responsibility, for more reasons than one. Aliano's saying every weekend at Kimana Bay. Didn't they lock down these kids being able to go out there unsupervised? Breeze says parents aren't parenting. Who are her parents? Bet you they have every excuse in the book. Disgusting. So, yes, we're judging you this morning, parents, but we're judging you from a place of let's do better, all of us collectively. Because if you saw my daughter out here doing this, I would want you to tell me, right? Because sometimes no matter how much you do, these children have a way, Of course, I'm raising my daughter that you don't go to anybody else's house to have a bath, to change clothes, to be doing none of this stuff. That's not what you go to people's homes for. If you have a play date, it's not that you're going there, sitting there to go put on makeup. And I've had conversations with some of my friends because their parenting style is different than mine. And that's why my daughter has very, very limited access on whose house she could even walk into. Right? Because if there's no alignment, I'm not telling you 100% how to raise your kids. I'm probably telling you about 70% this morning. But there are things that I don't personally agree with that you might be okay with. And well, I'm going to say that that's your prerogative. And so it's your prerogative if you're going to make your kids wear makeup. I don't personally agree with it. But my child can't be coming over to your child's house and engaging in makeup and all this stuff. So here she is, right? Ready for the streets, honey child. Got her phone in hand. That's the other thing. Y'all need to stop with these phones. This is how your children get into so much trouble, right? Phones, makeup, the fake hair, the weave, the way too revealing outfit, the girlfriend in the background who she thinks is going to be going for hard for her, messaging CMR with nonsense as they did on Saturday morning, telling me everything from, it's not who you think it is. It's not her. I'm like, yep, because I was born this size, honey child. Keep with the excuses. Keep with the lies. Because all that demonstrates to me is that you all are beyond immature. So I hear you trying to defend the nonsense. I get it. But not today, Bobo. Like I said, Auntie wasn't born this size, so I don't know who y'all trying to fool. But it ain't me. So I'm aware of all the tricks. But that's not her. I said, sure it isn't. Sure, it's not her. Right. I hear you, the child. I hear you. So, the preview, which she recorded of herself, told us a lot. So we shouldn't be surprised when this happens. Oops, hold on 1 second. Let me try to pull that back in. 1 second, good folks. All right. Yes. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Look at what your little child is doing up on some man private. What the heck is going on? I need to show it to y'all again. Because some of y'all looking at excuses. Look at this little girl. Anybody who see her wouldn't think that she is. Really? 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 Jeez, on peace. This is when I wish I could resurrect my poor aunt, because she would grab that weave right off your hair, and geez, on peace, you wouldn't be leaving that house ever again. You'd probably have to be 26 before she can let you out. Wow. Y'all see it? Do I need to show you again? That's what these young people are out in the streets doing. Y'all need to wake up. So if this man then grabs her up and starts to have relations with her, right? Gets her pregnant, this, that, and the next thing. Well, what y'all gonna have to say then? She has alcohol in her hand. So when her friends message me, oh, that's not her, she's over 18, you're confused. I said, stop it. Don't lie to me. I really don't like people lying to me. And y'all at the age of 15, 16 years old really need to stop it. These shows have, I call them shows, but you know, people go out dressed the most ridiculous way. They're engaging in the most ridiculous behavior. It's vulgar, it's disgusting, and it's not meant for children. So when you're allowing children to see this and to engage in this behavior, she's out here drinking. What do you expect is going to happen to her? Good morning, caller.
Morning, Sandra. How you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
I could be better. Listen, I wanted to call and I want to take you two stories about and why I no longer. You talked about a village raising a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I was out at a function, an adult function, and at the function was a little 15-year-old girl. Okay, now this is 12 o'clock at night. This is a Halloween party, and how the little girl would dress, all she had to do was bend over and everything fall out. Okay?
Wow.
When I saw her, I tapped her. I said, what are you doing here? Does your father know that you're here? You need to go home. Okay? The girl looked at me, and this is how she spoke to me. Just leave me alone. My father knows I'm here. My father knows right?
Clearly drunk and intoxicated.
I went to the manager, well, whoever it was, either the bartender, the manager. I identified myself, and I said, this little girl is 15 years old. Y'all need to get rid of her.
Yeah.
They look at me and they said, what do you expect us to do? Okay? I called the father. The father don't swear no that his daughter not there. And this and that. And I said, well, she's here. All right? The little girl went round did? We're telling people that because I approached her on the dance floor and because she showed me up, that's why I'm calling her father and trying to get her with her father.
Jeez, I'm peace.
Okay?
Wow.
I'll tell you another story.
These little kids dangerous, boy.
I'll give you another story. I was at another event sometime after that, right? And there was a little boy, could be 16, 15 years old. I know the people well. I looked at him and I said, what are you doing here? You're underage, right? He's not paying me no mind. He's not doing nothing. I call his people. His people say, well, where you work, so it's not like he can get pregnant. He'll be a boy.
Jeez.
All right? So I reach to the point where I say, you know, when I see it, I'm not saying nothing.
Wow.
All right? Because if my character is going to be impugned and people are going to say certain things about, and Sandra, look here, you want to get on my bad side, lie on me.
Yep.
Yeah? So that's why a lot of people don't want to get involved. Like this village thing, gone to the dogs, because if you correct your child, there got to be some reason why you're correcting, some ulterior motive why you're correcting the child, or the parents want to cut you out, or the parents just don't care.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Continue.
I appreciate it. Wow. And of course, that caller points out the realities of what's actually happening. And that's why, I mean, I get it. I understand. And that's why I'm having this conversation on a very public platform. Because what are they going to do? They're going to call me right now on Mall Road and tell me that I mustn't say that a little 15-year-old child should be out in the streets looking like this. I mean, you can do it. You know, once you don't use any profanity before 9:30, you can express your opinion that you don't care what your daughters are out here doing and your sons, to that caller's point, because we're not leaving out the boys. We come into them here in a second too, right? And the attitude that what the boys are different just because they can't get pregnant. Well, guess what? They're the ones out here impregnating the girls. Yes? And bringing children into this world that then they cannot afford and they cannot be responsible for. So this is her winding up on man on Saturday. You got to have conversations with your young people, folks. Now we have photos. And of course, John LaRue, he's going to play devil's advocate. John says, well, how do we know she's not 18? Because we were not born yesterday, John. And because we live in a community where, as a Caymanian, we actually know what's happening with some of her children. Maybe not all. But we're not that stupid. From the second I saw the second message come in about her, I'm like, okay, she's definitely a child. She's not 18. People are not going to be messaging me randomly about some big adult woman saying that, oh, look, auntie, she's underage. Because I get it that these are actually her own peers that are doing this. They're the ones who are essentially outing her. Like, look, y'all saw the drink in her hand? Let me show you again in case you missed it. You see that big, long, what do we call it? Flute or whatever it's called? That's what they pay to get the alcohol in. So he's got a drink in hand. She's got one, winding up. And all these people are there. She's creating such a spectacle. Such a spectacle with the winding up that all these people are there filming her and creating a little dance circle around her. You see it? Pay attention. Yeah, and see that? That's her friend probably that she went out with over here, tapping her and on the behind and encouraging her to wind up on the mat even more. I wonder if that same friend is going to be helping you to raise a child when you get pregnant by some 30-year-old man that don't even want you. And then he'll end up in court or in jail because he didn't your age. So how do we know, John? Exhibit A. This is that little child here. It turns out that she was in Miss Teen. Well, she didn't make it all the way. 15-year-old, it says Rhonda. What Rhonda last name is? Argent, right? Contestant number 5 from West Bay. Now, I'm assuming you can't go from being 15 years old to being 18 in just a couple weeks. Is that a good logical assumption to make? I'm just saying. Okay, this is her. What a mess. Somebody please come and get your child named Rhonda. Who her people is? Where they from? Wrong on all levels. This is what, let me show y'all what happens at these cooler fetes. Look at this one. The music vulgarity. Now, this little young man, he is also underage, same day, whining about on some woman. Now, I don't even know if she's a woman, but I'm told that's not someone of his age that going to school with him. So the young men aren't being left out either. What are y'all allowing your children to do? I mean, come on. And this is what y'all do at these fetes. Like, this is the dance? This is what gets y'all exciting, just winding up on people? All this vulgarity? Is there no other dance out there anymore that exists? These are just like sex fetes. I don't know what y'all call them cooler fetes for. It's a gyration fete, right? This is what your kids want to do. Look at that one grabbed onto that one in the background. I would like to see how many people got pregnant on Friday night at this event or shortly thereafter. It's a different level of vulgarity. I got one more for you. I know it's early on a Monday morning and y'all are like, oh, Sandy, you're killing my eyes with this stuff here this morning. I apologize in advance for what you're going to see next. But again, you guys need to know what your children are out here witnessing and what they're seeing and what events you're allowing them to go to. Look at this one. Ew. What on earth is that? I'm trying to figure out, is that real? Is her bonke real? That's the first thing I wanted to know. I'm like, that don't look natural. But this is it. It literally danced right out of her dress. Watch it again. I'm sorry. I apologize. What the hell? Now, I don't know what it is about this particular guy. Isn't he the guy in the other video too? Let me see. Yeah, man. He must have been. I think I got this one figured out. John, see if you can help me with the logic. I'm guessing he was the only white guy there. He was the only white guy at the event. So they gave him a show like nothing he's ever seen before. Somebody, please come get your North American child out of this cooler fete. So of course they were like, well, right, Faded Mary Jean? She's laughing. I'm serious. So he's the token white guy that shows up. And everybody's like, well, you know, we got to show him what the goods are. Let's put it all out there for him. Okay. So he got to wind up on everybody. I wonder if he got to take anybody home that night. A little Caribbean flavoring. So he was the token white guy at the party. And he got to wind up on everybody. And y'all were here for it. These are the videos that people are sending me. And I'm just like, ew. Ew. This is K-Man? Lord Jesus, my eyes burning me. What on earth? Really? Wow. But this is what y'all like. This is what you're into. So I'm not here to judge it if you're an adult. And I hope that this woman now, who had her literal bonke hanging out, and like I said, it looks suspiciously unreal. It looks like a Cardi B behind that you would have paid for. It's just a little bit weird. But honestly, I mean, I think that, you know, that's probably the only dance he knew. And then everybody else that was there, that was the only dance that they knew too. What's this dance called? Gyration dance? I don't know what y'all calling it. Y'all gotta help me out because I'm out of the loop these days. What a mess. No, sir. Wow. It's different. I'm not judging, but I'm judging, especially with the children. Keep your little boys at home. This little boy should be home asleep on Friday night. I'm pretty sure he's no top students, that he not making no grades that we can be proud of. This little girl, likewise, should not be playing dolly. It should not be going out in the streets. She should be at home. Yes? And not winding up on this man, not at all. Keep your children home. These events are not designed for them. Aliano says this man is having a time, yo. I mean, he's like, hey, this is where the party is at, and this is what Caribbean people do. I'm here for it. Who can blame him? Roar says the white man can dance. Can he really? I mean, that just means he's good at gyrating. I don't know about any real dancing. Alfred says, Father God, and she's a pageant contestant too, but I thought pageant's supposed to teach deportment and confidence. What is deportment? I mean, that's what they claim. But these pageants don't have no standards. We've already established that. I mean, look at the hot mess of Miss Teen. But yes, they're not teaching nobody nothing. They do claim that they have standards. They make them sign a contract. But child, every single pageant that I've heard of, practically these girls who win or who are in it, they're out there doing the most on these streets. For them, it's really just about the looks. Let's be real. So, yep. So that's what was going on. Andrew says, wow, alcohol certainly doing a great job in Cayman. Where was security to ensure there wasn't underage patrons? Which event was this? Their license should be revoked. And the man winding up and the child should be charged. Well, look, hold on. I'm not going far, Andrew. Because if you look at her, you gonna tell me that you think that she is actually a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old? A man wouldn't know that. He would know that she's not a big woman. And what's he gonna do? Like at the party, like I said, oh, hold on. Before you back it up, girl. Before you back it up and wind up on me, I need a CID. No. She looks grown, acting grown, drinking like a grown woman, underage drinking. So, of course, the man not thinking that she's a child. Your brother says white season, Lord God. He looks like a local from West Bay, Boissevain Bay. Auntie Sandy, look again. I don't know that he is. I mean, I can't identify him, but if any of you can, do let me know. I'm not sure I don't know who he is. But I mean, he looks different to me, but I like I said, I don't know. I thought somebody said he was, I don't know. I have no clue who he is, but whatever. I mean, really and truly, you need to keep your children out of these types of events. But he was having himself a good time. And I've seen some of the other videos from the event. I swear to God, literally, he was like the only white guy there. I mean, and I've seen no other white person at this event. So, child, he was king. He was living his best life. I would say it was probably 80%, 90% Caymanian Jamaican, and then the other 10% might be a little mix up Cuban, Spanish. But no, this is a Caribbean event. And I see no other white faces at this event. Sorry, Bobo. So if he ventured out from West Bay, I don't know about that. Oh, look, I have more footage of her again. She was having Lord God, she was having a good, jolly time. She was the life of the party. Hold on a second. I just captured another glimpse of her in another video. She was all over the place. Bump and grind. Oh, that's what the dance is called? Thank you, honey child. Faded Mary Jean says, feminism, and I want feminism, and I get free to be all you can be, and then some. This is not feminism. I'm sorry, Faded Mary Jean. I'm going to have to disagree with you. This has nothing to do with feminism. Feminism isn't about letting underage children out in these streets. No. That's not what feminism is about. Ureli says, I went to a Pirates Week event in Georgetown last year and was honestly baffled. Teenagers were walking around with Hennessy, smoking, dressed very revealing, and behaving like grown adults. These are the future of Cayman. And as parents and a community, we really need to do better. Miss Mary, joining us from West Bay, says, call me a prude, but if these things are going on at the fetes, then they should be outlawed in Cayman. Well, I mean, I hear you, Miss Mary, but, you know, all the organizers and stuff are going to say, keep your children home. They shouldn't be at these events, but nobody is curtailing this behavior. So the adults, the parents not doing it, nobody's doing it. Jean said, this is a long way from my days at the old Holiday Inn, Sharky's above Eats, or that club next to the movies and the gym. I can't think of the name. Oh, yes. I don't think, I may have gone there once back in the day, but I can't remember the name of it either. The clubbing thing wasn't really much of my vibe because y'all just be standing around drinking or doing this kind of gyration fullness. Live Happy says these kids need licorice tea. That would calm them down. What the heck is licorice tea? Damien says, yeah, before you dance, ask for ID. Lord have mercy. Kids want to do adult stuff and parents not doing their work, says Digicel. Digicel. Roar says there was no drink in her hand. What do you mean there was no drink in her hand? What do you think? What is that? What is that right there? You see that white, what do they call them? Flask? That is a drink. And that's what they put the drinks in, honey. I mean, I'm not that old. So look, you need to go out a little bit more. Raymond says parboiled chicken. Slow your roll. You're not jerk chicken yet. Jackie says, I went to see Byron Lee at Royal Palms. Must have been in the late 90s. There were children dancing and grinding. I swear they were like 5 years old. Ugh. Both boy and girl. And it seemed like okay with the crowd. Clearly the problem starts at home. Who teaches their kids to do that and why? Exactly. My goodness. Liana says, you know, Caribbean women like the white good hair. Lord have mercy, behave yourself. Strong Will says, hello. No. Jamaica, no dance like that. Dance like what? That gyrating thing? Jamaicans don't dance like that? Are you kidding? You're joking, right? Because I mean, I think the grind and wine is probably the national dance of Jamaica for every single song. I mean, yeah. This one here, this is at every single concert or fete or whatever that Jamaicans are having. This is how they perform on stage. This is the audience. It's who can do the biggest split open, wide open, so you can see all her innards and everything else. You must be joking. Stop. Behave yourself. All right. Melanie John says rum heads. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to that one. But wasn't it a different nightclub at one time? I don't know. KY Forever says, what happened to the street dance events for the children and what fetes they need to bring those back and what's for adults need to stay for adults? I mean, I don't know that we need to have children being encouraged to do this sort of thing to begin with. Cayman Islander nightclub. Nope, I don't know nothing about that one either. Wow, I guess there's some of these spots a couple of the tourists on various Cayman Facebook pages are asking for, says Miss Anita. What a hot mess. Aliana says, please, where do you think this style of session come from, if not Jamaica? A horn. It's literally a horn. No, a horn? What horn are you talking about? It's a horn? A horn. All right. Who was there that night that can put this argument to bed? What is this thing in her hand? Is that a horn? He says it's a horn. Well, I know they have those flask type things that you put your drink in. So whoever was there, I wasn't there. So I'm assuming that's what it is because I've seen drinks and something like that. You guys can certainly let me know. So you go there to buy a horn. And then this wasn't a drink in her hand either. I'm supposing you're going to tell me next. All right. Well, if it's a horn, I stand to be corrected, but I got more for you. Hold on. Let me see here now. Hold on, honey child. So that's a horn. Okay. Y'all doing the most out here. Who knows? All right, here's this one. Another one yet again. Oh, wait a minute. That's not. Hold on. Let me take some of these out so I can make sure I'm getting the right video. One second. Okay. I think we've downloaded. Is this the same one? Hold on one second. Oh no, hold on, that's not the one. That is not it. Okay. All right, hold on. Hold on a second. All right, here's another one for your not viewing pleasure this morning. Oh, well, at least these guys are doing something else. I don't know what dance this was, but at least it wasn't gyrating on nobody. Okay, so you're saying that that's a horn. Okay, well, yes, sir, big boy, making the moves though. I was telling you I saw her again. Here she comes. She's so here. There she is with that group. That's her right there. Right there. Y'all saw her again? Yep, there she is right there. Behind the girl with the striped outfit. There, See, there she is right there, having her best life. Anyway, looks like the adults had a good time. Just keep your children away from these events, all right? It's a horn. They use them at games and matches. Well, thank you, Carib Beach Chica. I appreciate it. 90s Calypso and Soca was and is way better than dance hall today. Not the same comparison, says Raymond. So Christ, says Rourke, man. Mr. Amelia, if it was a drink, it would be spilling. Thank you for the correction. I had to be corrected. Apparently that was a horn. All right. Well, we saw the pre-drink in her hand, but none with the videos that we saw there. So that's good. That is good to know. I mean, at least she wasn't drinking the whole time. All right. Deanna says, I feel like we need things for kids and teens. Most of these instances occur out of boredom. And yes, lack of parenting, forced to grow up because adults have fun. I mean, the few things that they've started for kids hasn't really worked out well at all, right? So didn't they have a teen nightclub and then there was a stabbing there and then that had to get shut down because somebody literally died at the teen event? Barbara says, I was called old-fashioned some 12 years ago when I spoke to a parent about letting her 14-year-old to Pirates Week Fest, dressed like a W word. The child now has 3 kids and 2 different men and no husband. You should have told her. Who's the old-fashioned one now, honey child? You wouldn't be a grandmother of 3 had you kept her in check, but there you go. Oh, thank you, Irvlin, confirming it's a horn. Sandy, I think you're late. Long time thing where these children go to Cotton Club. I mean, listen, like I said, kids are going to want to sneak out. They're going to want to do stuff. It's the parents who need to have them check. Andrew says, so when these young women are gyrating and winding up and indecently exposing themselves, get raped, who do we hold accountable? I don't even know. Faded Mayor Jean says, when you have social media influencers on their podcasts, especially women and even men, who encourage other women to own their bodies, dress provocatively, and abandon traditional values, all in the name of feminism, it will trickle down to our teens because they're easily influenced. Parents have lost their grip and others just don't care. I'm curious, though, who is doing this? Like, let's think about this for a second. In the Caribbean context, right? What Caribbean influencers are here talking about feminism? That's not what they're doing. This has nothing to do with feminism. Feminism is a philosophy. These people don't even know how to say the word philosophy, just have one in their heads. What they're doing is, yes, they might be encouraging this ghetto-fied lifestyle, but they're not talking about feminism. This has nothing to do with feminism. This is who we want to be. This is how we get a man. This is how we keep a man. This is the behavior that we're engaged in, the low, downgraded ridiculousness, the vulgarity of it all. That's what the culture is all about. And if we don't think that this is ingrained in Caribbean culture, in Jamaican culture, the dance hall genre is all about this type of behavior. The lyrics, talk about your boom boom and your this and the that and whatever. It is all about vulgarity. That has nothing to do with feminism. Not a single thing. Most Caribbean women have no concept. I'm going to put this out there. Most Caribbean women have no concept of feminism at all. And that's why they're pushing this lifestyle. It's what they have grown up knowing, right? When you grow up around this kind of thing, that becomes your norm. And you don't have the intellectual capacity to understand what feminism is. And that's what's happening here. This is just low down, dirty, degraded stuff. So let's not confuse feminism with this. I mean, whether you're a proponent of feminism or not, that's not what this is. This is just, they grew up gyrating. And you know, like I said, I see some of this in my own family. I was talking to someone a couple days ago about a particular niece who this is her lifestyle too. She was probably there, gyrating, having a good time. And I said, you know, the sad thing is, the mistake that my sister made with her is she sent her to Jamaica for an education. And the people that she was surrounded by and the culture that she was surrounded by wasn't anything good for her. And that recognition came a little bit too late. So now that's who she is. Her formative years as a preteen and teenager grew up around this ghetto-fied behavior, and that's all she understands. We got to own this for what it is. This isn't feminine. This is ghetto-fied behavior that our children are constantly being exposed to through the culture, the music, the lyrics, the dress, the attitude. That's what this is. So please don't get feminism confused. And it's a very, very sad situation. Let's go to some of the WhatsApp comments, and then we're going to get to baby Alissady here. This one says, morning, what do you expect? You should check to see if these kids' parents wasn't there also. When you're your child's best friend, it makes it that much harder to say no. That's why they are not able to control them. Choose your position in their lives, best friend or parent, just saying. Imagine he was drinking, would pass the stage of return. The calf is out of the gate. Morning, the backside is natural. Yes, sir. Shape is characteristic of most Caribbean and Latin women figures without any enhancement. Deportment means personal conduct, i.e. posture, behavior, and etiquette. Oh, thank you. The problem with this generation is that they film everything. Well, I don't know that that's the problem. The problem is that they're actually out there doing it to begin with. And then, yes, on top of that, obviously, it gets filmed as well. Someone sent me a thing of a drinking horn, but they have drinking flasks that look very much like that also. I've seen them before, the long drinking, so apparently in this instance it's horns, but I've seen, they look very, very similar, but there you go. All right, comment here. Let me just bring this one up. 1 second. Says, child, it seems like if you can't whine, twerk, and have some moves like this, you're not saying ish. Child, common thing, and it's not getting any better. Look at the average age. That represents a portion of our future. Again, there's a lack of national enforcement and accountability. No enforcement equals no respect for local legislation. They just become words, a joke, and only for some, not all. And to know we as a society get upset on the topic of Sunday trade and extended hours on a Saturday night, shaking my head. Our future on display at its finest, and if not done here at home, they will fly away and do the same thing, if not worse. So we just need to wake up and realize this is not the 3, 4, 5 of back in the day. Our future, Sandy. What a mess. Nosa. Morning. Let me know when you have a minute, love. On air. Okay. Well, I guess NAU will have new clients in 9 months. He also has a hard on. If he rapes her, who's at fault? Lord God. And then someone's sending me some videos of what happens in neighboring Jamaica with the whole good morning. If it's a parent's fault, it's adults that are watching it. Alfred and I don't the same thing too. Be a responsible adult. No good parents come running up their mouth. I beat them too. I'll try and approach her easy still. Don't come with your attitude. We got cameras and smartphones, so record the conversation. Call to the parents. That couldn't be my daughter. I must say my daughter didn't go to those dances. I'm proud of her for that. It's called bubbling, winding up, gyrating, just a few. And then they sent some dagger master suicidal dance move. That's where they jump on top of each other or something. What a mess. Ridiculous. Nosa. Someone's asked if YouTube is on. Yep, it is. Follow the channel. You get the daily links. All right, let me see here now. Plus, he's probably only expecting adults to be at the event, says this person. All right, sort yourself out, folks. Sort yourselves out. It's ridiculous. Somebody needs to talk to her parents. I'd be curious to know who her parents even are. Fathers, be involved in the lives of your daughters in particular, all of your children, daughters and sons. I know some of you are in these forced relationships where just because she got pregnant, now you have a kid. You didn't want it. She didn't want it, but she has it. And here you are. Regardless of those circumstances, you can still step up to the plate and actually be a good father. Your daughters need you. You need to be setting an example just as much as the mothers are of what a good parent looks like, because you will teach them what is acceptable behavior from other men. You will show them what real love, a fatherly love, looks like. And they're not going to be having self-esteem problems and be trying to jump on every Tom, Dick, and Harry to fulfill their needs because you as a father never showed love to them. Because they don't know what it is to have a good dad in their lives. You men need to step up to the plate. It's just pure madness. Yes, I've had one of those long drinking flutes that I got at Fat Fridays in Las Vegas. Jenny says that young lady is often seen at Cotton Club and Rum Point with older men drinking alcohol as well. Jesus, who are her parents? I would love to know. She reached out to me and I'm gonna message her. Why is Zeus scratching at my door? Zeus, what's wrong? He wants to come in really bad this morning. I heard him whining out there and then he started scratching at the door. Can you all hear that? That's my dog wanting to get in. Oh my goodness, that dog is so silly. All right, shall we let him in? Let's take a quick little break because he's about to knock over my door if I don't let him in.
As Minister for Health, Environment and Sustainability, I'd like to personally invite you to join me at one of our upcoming public town hall meetings. We're discussing proposed changes to legislation covering environmental health, tobacco and vaping, public health, health practice, and I want to hear from you. Whether you have questions, concerns, or ideas to share, these meetings are an opportunity for open conversation about issues that affect us all. Join us at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 26th of August at the John Gray Memorial Church Hall in Westby, or at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, the 27th of August at Constitutional Hall in Georgetown. Come out, meet your neighbors, share your perspective, and be a part of shaping the future of health in our islands. Light refreshments will be available, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Okay, Zeus needed to come into the studio. Here he is. He brought his little toy. He was so happy to see me just now. Hi, everybody. Say happy. Let's show them your little ET toy. You got to let it go. Let it go for a second. This is his favorite toy of the moment. A little ET character. And he loves his little toy. He's torn up his outfit in the back already and the front. You okay? What's going on? Why are you so anxious to come in this morning? What you doing? Say, I know one person who not out in the streets. It's me. Little Zeusy not out here twerking on the body. No way. All right. I'll let you stay if you behave yourself, but you got to be good, okay? All right, tell everybody now you're going to go down on the ground. Here's your little toy. Be a good boy. Yeah, he loves, oh gosh, he's going to start squeaking it now. All right, Zeus, lie down. Good boy. All right, let's move on to the case of baby Alissady. On Friday afternoon, a jury of 5 women and 7 men found Devon Emmanuel Wright Jr. not guilty of murder and also manslaughter, but guilty of abduction of 2-year-old Alissady Powell. And they had about 3 days of deliberation. After the first day, when they weren't coming back, I have to tell you that I was concerned that this was going to be a hung jury. And so, unfortunately, here we are now. We got to talk about some of the details of the case. We had Justice Emma Peters as a trial judge. She's a Grand Court judge. She is a very thorough judge from what I have seen. She actually dealt with my case, the last case I had a few months ago. And I can tell you that her thoroughness even extended to the point where at one point she said, in my matter, I've noticed that both the prosecution and the defense didn't bring up this line of questioning or arguments rather around human rights. And so I have to bring it up because I know if I miss this, Mrs. Hill is the type of person who is going to appeal decisions. And so this should have been discussed on appeal. And she was absolutely right. I mean, I said it to my lawyer afterwards that, I'm surprised that was not part of the arguments that they were bringing forward. Nonetheless, throughout this trial, and I want to be very, very clear here, I came in at the tail end when the jury was out. but we'd been getting transcripts and reports throughout the trial so that we could accurately report on it ourselves. What do I think happened here? Well, I think it's important to understand that with jury trials, you never know what you're going to get. It's like what they say, a box of chocolate. Remember that movie with, oh gosh, what's the actor's name? Tom Hanks, I think it is, where he says life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, I'm going to tell you, that life now is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. You do not know. You just don't know with a jury. You don't know what's going on in the deliberation room. You don't know how they're thinking, how they're looking at what was presented before them. One observation I made is every morning that they were there is, you know, they would order lunch very early in the day. So whenever I saw them ordering lunch, I'm like, oh, Lord, that means we are not getting a decision anytime soon. They're not even anticipating, well, before 1 o'clock, we can be done here. So let's not bother ordering lunch today. Nope. They were like 10 o'clock in the morning, putting in the lunch order. So much with this case is really, really unfortunate. This, again, is one of those situations where clearly this mother was not a good mother. And we need to acknowledge and start with some of the obvious things that you think to yourself, well, what does that have to do with somebody murdering her child? Well, it has everything to do with somebody murdering her child. Because obviously, if she did not have people in her house around her child, let's make the assumption that she didn't do it herself, which is a big assumption. And I'm going to tell you why all parties should be charged. All parties were arrested and all parties should go to trial because somebody killed that child, right? So, parents, once again, I have said this before. The one thing that you can do that is going to jeopardize your children, especially girls, more than anything else, is to have a step parent in the home. There was an interview, and I think I've played this before, with Steve Marlette, the what's this thing called? The Diary of a CEO. And he was asked to guess what he thinks is the highest, like what causes the most risk to your children in your homes, in your own homes. And he was like, okay, is it, a parent who is homeless, a parent who is on drugs, No, the biggest risk factor is having people in your home, step parents in your children's homes. That's crazy. But it's a reality that I reckon a lot of you need to be cognizant of. Because you are allowing people into your home. You're not vetting these men, having access to your children if the child is 2 years old or older, right? You're letting them in. They're abusing your children. And in some instances, your children are coming to far greater harm than just abuse. So we need to have a coming to Jesus moment here today. I put a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of that mother for what happened to that 2-year-old child. But for her actions, that child would still be alive today. You don't let criminals into your home and think that there'll be no consequences for doing so. This man has a rap sheet that is so long, it's hard to even explain it. And a lot of those jurors probably don't even recognize who he was. They're not, once you get chosen, they tell you can't go on the internet, you can't search up anything. You can't be trying to figure out who this person is. Someone reminded me from like 2010 to 2011, the judge in some other case that he had was talking about the extensive nature of this man's criminal life. He is a lifelong criminal. And that is who you choose to bring into your home around your children. She should be flogged and on trial herself for what has happened to this baby. So I want to be very, very clear, in case y'all don't know what my position on this is, that I put a lot of blame and responsibility squarely on her shoulders. Just like we're talking about here today. Irresponsible parenting, right? Not having right perimeters in your home, exposing your children to all sorts of men and a lifestyle and whatever. That is her. She is a horrible parent. Children be left in the vehicles there in Cayman Brack so she can go out drinking in the bar, handing them an iPad. These things had been reported. The system knew about her behavior. She wasn't trying to be a good parent ever. I hope to God she don't have her other children still. Right? This is the chaos that this poor little child was born into. And so it's almost like, what would we expect? A mother who's dabbling in drugs and cocaine, who's hanging around with hardcore criminals. How could this baby have ever been safe? It's just utterly disgusting. And so here we are now. The child is, unfortunately, dead at the hands of somebody. Someone took their hands and put it around the neck of little Alissady and killed this child. Who is going to be held responsible for that? Who? Let me tell y'all something. When we found out that the police and the investigation was actually messed up at the early stages, but autopsy was wrong. Speaking of which, here is but another example of where the HSA, because they're the ones with the pathologists on staff, got it wrong. And tell me now, where is the accountability for messing that up? Has Lizette fired the pathologist that got it wrong? No. You know what they do instead? I mean, I don't know how many reasons y'all need to get rid of the management at the HSA, but I'm going to give you another reason here today. She doesn't fire the pathologist. What they now do is, with all serious crime, they bring in somebody, because this is what we do here in Cayman, right? When our people are incompetent, we don't say, okay, you got to go. This job isn't for you. Get the heck out of here. Get fired. What they do instead is, we can bring somebody else in and pay them additional money to do the job that you're supposed to be doing. Perfect example from the KPMG report. Instead of firing Lizette, as we should, no, we're going to turn around and hire somebody else now and pay them more money to do a job that she can't do herself. Make it make sense. Because it is not making any sense to me. So they claim that the child died by drowning, And then we found out that that was not the case at all. Now, the interesting thing, right, is the mother herself. Remember that video that we played? You guys can go back in our archives. We played the mother with her crocodile tears and cussing carrying on about she want to know who killed her baby. Yeah, we want to know too, Ivan. What her name is, Ivania? You tell us who killed her. You were there. You know more than you are telling us and the police. So why didn't you tell us who killed your daughter? Oh, I always knew that somebody murdered my baby. Of course they did. And you have always known that. So tell me, how is it that you've always known that? Come now. If you have even an ounce of a heart beating inside of you, you as a mother have got to do right by this child. You carried her for 9 months. You gave birth to this little child, despite being a horrible mother to your children. I still have to believe that somewhere deep inside you, you know what happened to that child, and you should come forward and tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Stop playing games. Are you the one who should be in jail for this? Tell us. How do you sleep at night? After this child was murdered, how could you be out partying and living your best life like nothing is wrong? Most mothers that are decent would have had a nervous breakdown. They would barely be able to survive this. And I want to know, how is it that you're out here partying in these streets the way that you were? We need to understand how somebody like you thinks and operates, because this is a different type of monstership. Huh? You know exactly who killed that child. And if you didn't do it, you know who put their hands around that baby's neck and strangled her to death. And then went and took her up the street and put her on the iron shore for somebody to find her like she was an animal. That baby deserves better than this, Ivani. Come now. You have got to do better as a mother. All the fake tears and the fake videos is not convincing anybody, because we all have an ounce of common sense. You need to tell us what happened to your child. You knew from day one the child was murdered. You said you always did. Somebody murdered my baby. Okay. We agree. We know the police got it wrong. It's almost like subconsciously you want to be found out. Let's not play any games, woman. Just come with the truth. It was a circumstantial case, so I guess from the word jump, it was going to be difficult to get a guilty conviction on the most serious of the offenses on the table. The fact that the prosecution did not make a connection between all of the parties, I think, unfortunately, is really, really sad. So, for example, they didn't talk about and question her about her own drug use. They talked about, you were in debt, you had some bills, you and Devin had some bills, you were struggling financially. Struggling financially, why and how is what they needed to get to. Who are you owing money to? CUC? Were you struggling financially with rent? No, we need to get to the crux of some of this foolishness. You're struggling financially because you got a drug habit, and the streets are talking about how you owe money to Devin's uncle, Thomas McLean, who lived on the Brack, and everybody know before he got killed 7 months after this baby died that he was a very serious man, and he's not the kind of man that you owe money to. You get drugs from him, you better pay up. Why the prosecution did not explore this line of questioning and put the dots together in terms of the relationship between the parties, I really don't know. The case is already circumstantial. So nobody's saying definitively that Thomas McLean had a part to play in this because he was owed money. But you know what? You put all your cards on the table. Let the country and the jurors know exactly how chaotic this woman's life was and what was actually going on in her life. Ask her, do you use cocaine? Have you ever used cocaine before? At the time of your daughter's death, were you using cocaine? Did you owe anybody money? Who did you owe money to? How are they connected? Oh, wow. Thomas's daughter is the cousin of Devon that was living in the apartment with you, and she's one of the 3 people that was there that night with you in that apartment? Put the pieces of the puzzle together. Because I am sure, despite the fact that I was obviously not in the jury room, one of the things that probably made no sense to them is the motive. Who would want to kill a 2-year-old child? What was the reason? If they had done a better job of explaining the nature of these connections to the mother, right? You could kind of see where a motive starts to form, can you not? Oh, wow. You owed him money for drugs? You and your boyfriend? Doing drugs, dabbling in the drug business? You had been threatened? Right? Not just by his sister, because I think that came up in cross-examination. Not just by his sister, but other people connected to him. If you don't pay up, we're going to find a way to make you pay. Have it make sense. What happened to that child that night? We want to know. As a community, her grandparents, the child's father, the aunts and uncles, the great aunts and uncles, they deserve the truth of what happened to this child. Like I said, this jury doesn't know the extensive nature of this man's, they don't know that he just got convicted again for robbery and got sentenced another 15 years or whatever. That he's going to be locked up anyway. They would not have necessarily known any of that information. And in fact, the court deliberately tells the media, we cannot discuss any elements of his criminal history, of his upcoming trial. He has another trial that starts today, by the way. I'm trying to remember what that one is for. He's a lifelong criminal. And that is who you choose to bring around your children. From that, you know that her head not right, none at all. Right? Let me get the cause list for y'all today so you can see what charges again he's facing. It's just ridiculous. Somebody killed that child. That is the one fact you're certain of. The child did not kill herself. Huh? So if somebody killed her, who did it? 3 people in the house. By her own evidence and her own testimony, the cousin was asleep and was awoken by the commotion of trying to find the child. So that, in my estimation, leaves 2 very likely possibilities. The mother or the boyfriend. Who else? Okay? Who else did it? Yes, the cousin was there. The cousin has been arrested just because she was there. Right? What does she know? What does she hear? We don't know. But we know the mother testified that when she got up and discovered about 4:30 in the morning that the child was missing, the cousin was apparently still sleeping and was awoken then from the disruptive noise of like, oh my gosh, where's my daughter? The motive is important for the circumstantial evidence case. And I want to be very, very clear because someone said on Friday, well, if it's just circumstantial evidence, you can't win a case. Yes, you can. There's lots of cases that are won every single day in courts of law all over the world that are circumstantial in nature. So let's be very, very clear. A circumstantial case is just a different type of evidence. It does not mean that you cannot win such a case, right? So direct evidence is testimony, proof that speaks directly to the fact and issue, such as an eyewitness who saw him do it, a confession, forensic evidence physically linking him to the act. Circumstantial evidence is everything else. Everything else surrounding facts, circumstances from which the jury has to infer the fact in issue. So this case, unfortunately, had no direct evidence, no eyewitnesses, no forensics, no confession, no established motive. So the entire Crown's case was built from circumstance. Who was in the apartment? The timeline of who checked on her. Inconsistencies across the 3 different accounts. A clean smell of exertion in the child's room. And the process of eliminating the other 2 adults present. So her facts, according to her testimony was that she had put the baby down, changed her diaper, whatever, put her down. When she went back at a later time to check on her, one of the things that caught her eye is that the door was ajar in a different position than she had left it. Right? And when she went into that room, initially she didn't tell the police this, but then she came back and amended, which, I mean, sometimes at the first statement, you can understand people are emotional. There's a lot of reasons why someone might remember a detail or whatever later on. So that in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean that she was part of a cover-up or a lie, but I mean, you do have to question, right, how certain things appeared to have, skipped her brain entirely. So then she claims that she smelled this man in her daughter's room. Okay. Because apparently he has a particular odor when he is exerting himself. That's disgusting to even think about. But why would he be in that child's room exerting himself? Exerting himself doing what exactly? Like I said, I have so many questions about this. This case is just like unbelievable. So let's talk about some of the notes, right? The poor child was found in the early mornings of July the 26th, 2022. And as you guys know, those of you who were watching the show here know that we were pleading for, and I even went back and found the original post that we posted up that morning saying that this child is missing. I remember when I heard and started to get these WhatsApp messages that the child was missing, my initial feeling was that mother is not telling the truth. From the word jump, I tell you no lie. I was talking to some of her friends and they're like, oh no, she said this and I said this woman not telling the truth. There's something off with her version of events. Here's the post, July 26, 2022. We posted, missing. Please help me find my daughter. This is what she was saying. Her name is Alissady. She's 2 years old and responds to Ali. She was last seen at 4:30 a.m. Came back Southside, East, Cayman, I should have said Cayman Brackers. But we just copied and pasted, I think, whatever they sent us, right? And this is this poor little girl here. What a cute little thing. So it is such an unfortunate situation that we then discovered right here that morning that her body had been found. And I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, But I remember I could not even continue the show because I was just so incredibly shocked. This post went up at 8:24 in the morning. And before our show ended, we discovered, unfortunately, that her body, her lifeless body, had been found. This child deserves justice. This is the mother here. You need to tell us what happened to this child. What really happened to her? You can be honest. You're going to pay for this one way or the other. You might as well take your penance now while you're here on earth and come forward and explain what happened. So she continued to be in a relationship with this man after her child goes missing. And I'm sorry, but that could never be me. Then at some point, the two of them end their relationship. And that is the only reason, apparently, why the Crown could get her to testify. The prosecution said, closing arguments by Henkin KC, that there were two strands. Strand number one, you exclude the alternatives. There's nothing that links a stranger, a red car, unidentified tire markers, or lost keys to the death. So these were some things that came up. She claims that, there's a lost key for the apartment. There was unidentified tire marks. But he says none of that links to her death. Behind a locked door, the only routes where a key lost, or if there was some sort of inside help, right? At this point, they're saying the other two adults are excluded. Well, I certainly will not exclude her. The mother was excluded, they say, because after the death was first treated as a drowning, she was under no suspicion, and she refused to accept it, went to the press, wrote to the deputy governor, my apologies, commissioned and paid for her own forensic review, gave it to the police, triggering the murder inquiry. And they say that this conduct is entirely inconsistent with herself being the murderer. We had 2 damp nappies and wet leggings corroborate her tending to the child overnight. They say the cousin was excluded because she was asleep on the sofa. So that's strand number one. Which, let me say this, right? The fact that this mother actually decided to come forward and basically said, no, somebody killed my child and I'm going to do all this other stuff. I have a theory that sometimes a guilty conscience, and we've seen it before with criminals, sometimes a guilty conscience wants to be found out, Have you ever heard that before? It's actually proven in criminology that when you're guilty, there are times when you will do something to be found out. It's certainly not unheard of. Let me put it that way. So I'm not personally convinced that the fact that she went to all of this great lengths to say that, no, my child was murdered, means that she had nothing to do with it, or that she's as innocent as she wants us to believe. A guilty mind. I think she knew that the child was murdered. And so when they said, oh, this is just a drowning, no, her name is Avani Dixon something or another. Let me see if I can get her full name for you. Avani Dixon Powell. She was a legal secretary at the time, I think at Maples and Calder. So, what a mess. So yeah, what I can say to you is that's the logic that they were using, but I'm not necessarily so convinced about that. But let's look at strand number 2. So the case against him, they say that he was the only adult who was awake and outside during that window that something happened to the child. He saw or heard no intruder, no vehicle, the ring doorbell being removed. Walked past the child's lit, open bedroom, they say empty bed, yet told the mother she was asleep in her room. Sweat evidence. The mother smelled his body odor after exertion only in the child's room. A neighbor saw him about 5:30 a.m. glistening like he had worked out. The unlocked door. Reportedly, Wright told police that the door was closed but unlocked. Volunteered that the child could unlock the door and climb the steps to the iron shore. So this is his questionable explanation now. The wandered out and drowned story was held for 2 years, but now disproved. On arrest in December of 2024, he pointed at the mother, yet he said earlier that she was a good woman and a good mother. There was the Crocs. Normally he wore Crocs out to smoke. They were inside that morning. Distinctive trainers seen before, never seen again. Intent. Sustained forceful neck compression, minutes, not seconds, on a conscious, struggling child. Fingernail abrasion on her cheek, consistent with no other intention than to kill. One doesn't quiet a 2-year-old child by closing a hand around her throat. So that is the circumstantial evidence. They say conclusion, guilty on the murder point. The defense attorney now says circumstantial evidence points many ways, and the jury must exclude every realistic, innocent explanation, and that it was wrong for the Crown to cherry pick. No motive after 4 years. The mother's own account, he and the child were close. A violent act is so small, and such a small apartment would have been heard, he claimed, and no one heard anything. Reminding, of course, that the burden is on the Crown. Its case rests on no one else could have done it, which has gaps. Talked about the missing key, that a key had gone missing, never recovered. And so another means of entry that could not be excluded, that there was an unknown red car seen heading west about 4:45 a.m. within the disappearance window, never traced, and police never checked how many red cars were about. Timing, opportunity, which he says was a core point, that yes, he's a heavy smoker who went out nightly. The mother woke up about 5 a.m. to the door, smelled smoke inside and out, and saw him about 45 seconds coming from the seaward side where he claims he went to smoke or where he smoked. An innocent explanation for the Crown's own evidence of why he was coming from like the shore, the Iron Shore. The 4:30 a.m. last check, the mother maintained 4:30 a.m. consistently for 4 years. Only the flustered 911 call gave close to 2 hours. The Crown now elevates that one panicked estimation and undermines its own witness, it says. This was what his defense pointed out. Distance/terrain, an officer timed walking was about 12 minutes each way by road, longer on the Iron Shore. So to carry out the 0.7 mile over the rock in the dark during a storm trek, they claim was impossible. And when seen, they say, oh, he wasn't out of breath and wasn't wet. Behavior makes no sense for a guilty man switching on the bathroom light, waking the mother, then slamming the door again, waking her again to ensure that she found the child missing while he was outside. So these were things that they pointed to. The jury came back with a few questions. I can tell you that one of the areas in which they were very, very confused about is the fact that in order to find him responsible for her murder, they did not have to find that he was present at the time of her death, or effectively that he was the only cause of her death. And so there's in law, there's an element of what is called the principle. And it's very difficult, I must tell you, for non-legally trained people to understand this. I'm not surprised that they were confused by this point, because the principal offender and the presence of death, and I want to explain this because I think this is worth an explanation, right? So the Crown's case is that Wright was the principal. So in other words, the person whose own act caused Allissady's death. Not that he was an accessory who helped someone else do it. So there's a causation question here. The legal principle, you've got the Cayman Islands Penal Code, Section 18, defines a principal offender as, amongst other things, every person who actually does the act which constitutes the offense, and nothing in that definition or in the equivalent English common law rule requires the principal to be standing next to the victim at the moment that death occurs. So that's the principal offender legal principle. So although the law is for the judge, even on the facts, when they're determining the facts, there's certain things that they need to understand, like what is a principal offender? Is it possible for him to be convicted or found guilty of the offense of murder, right? If he was not the only cause of death, or if he was not present at the time of her death. And basically the judge took instructions from both Crown and defense attorney and came back and said, let us explain it in the best possible layman terms that we can. Causation is the test, not presence. So in homicide, a defendant is guilty as a principal if his own act was an operating and substantial cause of death, even if death actually occurs later, elsewhere, and outside of his presence, provided nothing breaks the chain of causation. That's a legal principle. And so there's tons of explanations around this, right? Okay, you shoot somebody, but later on they died from a heart attack. Were you the cause of their death? That's why autopsies are so incredibly important. Abby says to legalize abortions before heartbeat begins. So, I mean, it's just such a sad state. They came back with basically the same question again, which meant that at least a good number of them still did not understand the legal principle under which they need to convict. Give me 1 second, folks. I'm gonna take a quick break here.
As Minister for Health, Environment and Sustainability, I'd like to personally invite you to join me at one of our upcoming public town hall meetings. We're discussing proposed changes to legislation covering environmental health, tobacco and vaping, public health, health practice, and I want to hear from you. Whether you have questions, concerns, or ideas to share, these meetings are an opportunity for open conversation about issues that affect us all. Join us at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 26th of August at the John Gray Memorial Church Hall in Westby, or at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, the 27th of August at Constitutional Hall in Georgetown. Come out, meet your neighbors, share your perspective, and be a part of shaping the future of health in our islands. Light refreshments will be available, and I look forward to seeing you there.
The government is inviting the public to share their views on proposed changes to tobacco and vaping laws. The proposal aims to protect our young people, strengthen vaping rules, and address concerns about disposable vapes. We want to hear from parents, educators, businesses, and the wider community. The consultation opens on the 21st of August. Log on to publicconsultation.gov.ky to help shape the future of tobacco and vaping policy in the Cayman Islands.
All right, folks. My apologies. So, obviously, there was a unanimous requirement for murder, and unfortunately, the jurors could not come to that. And in fact, they decided then on not guilty. And what they did find him guilty of was abduction. So there were two charges, murder and manslaughter in the alternative. And she explained to them what was required. If they didn't find murder, they could go with the alternative, manslaughter. And then a second charge on the indictment was that of abduction. What seems like a very peculiar and odd thing to the average person is that they found him guilty of abduction. I have a theory about this, and I'm going to tell you what my theory is. This is just my theory. The act of abduction can carry a maximum life sentence. And so I believe that this jury, although they could not make a decision of finding him guilty of murder or manslaughter, so they decided to find him not guilty, they felt like there was enough for the offense of abduction, knowing full well that abduction can get you just as much time as murder. So it is... Well, how would we say if you can't get, like, you can't get them one way and get them another way? So think about this. Because how this actually works is given his extensive history, right, of being a seasoned and lifetime criminal. When it comes to sentencing on the abduction charge, it is very, very possible that this judge can say under Section 220 of the Penal Code, abduction and kidnapping carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Now, to be fair, maximum is not the typical. Life is the top, the ceiling, right? Not really the going rate per se. Actual sentences have varied immensely in the Cayman Islands, and abduction is not the type of thing that you see happening often. Like, it doesn't come up a whole lot in court. So we have the 2011 case of Kelly and Webster, where two men were convicted of abducting an adult male for ransom, part of a kidnap for money gang. They were sentenced to 12 years. It was later reduced to 8 years on appeal. Then we have Jeffrey Barnes, a man with a series of history of sexual violence, whose offending included a separate abduction alongside rape and indecent assault charges, and he received a 35-year determinate sentence, and that was later reduced to 21 years on review. So that shows the totality of the very serious repeated sexual offending, not the abduction alone. But the point that it does bring out is that if you have a serial offender, right, such as Davian Wright, that judge can go in there starting with the maximum 30 years. He just got 15 years or something, some robbery or something again the other day. So she can start with the 30. I think that unfortunately, that is going to be the best case scenario here. Let me just say this. His extensive history, oh, thank you. Yeah, someone says he's always been a criminal. And I think that's a fair assessment, certainly for him. And once again, that's why I don't understand how a mother allows a guy like this. So back in 2012, there was an article in CNS about him. Habitual offender gets more jail time for handling. I'm going to bring up this story now because I think that this story is going to be relevant. Things like this will be relevant to the sentencing. Let's have a look. Here's the evidence, folks. Okay. What are we talking about here? Let's read it together. So, Justice Charles Quinn stretched a 20-year man sentence. He was only 20 years old at the time in 2012. Existing jail time Monday when he handed down a 3-year sentence for handling stolen goods. The Grand Court judge ordered that Devon Wright should serve 1 year concurrently with his existing sentence for burglary, but 2 of the 3 years should be consecutive with his current 4-year sentencing, meaning that 2 years will be added to his time at HMP Northwood. In his ruling, the judge pointed out that Wright had a string of offenses to his name despite being only 20 years old and had committed the latest offenses while on bail awaiting trial for other crimes. And that was the same thing. During this trial, they didn't know that today, now he's back in court again. Oh, I meant to look that up. I just want to tell you what he's back in court again for. I want it's another robbery, but I can't even remember. So I'll have a look at the cause list here in just a second. Cause lists. Okay. So the article goes on to say that the judge noted that Wright did not appear to want to break from his habitual criminality, but he did not do so. He was likely to spend most of his life in prison. This is what the judge said in 2012. Wright had 11 convictions recorded between 2009 and 2011, 9 of which were for burglary, a previous conviction for handling stolen goods, 1 for damage to property. And it went on and on and on and on about his behavior. The judge said that Wright was described in the social inquiry report as bright and full of potential, but was at 100% risk of reoffending. 100% risk of reoffending. The judge said that the findings made for depressing reading. Justice Quinn also noted the young man's drug habit, as he said he'd been smoking ganja since he was 12 years old and was smoking around 12 and 15 spliffs a day. My God. But the judge was most disturbed by the failure of Wright's family to take an interest in the young man, saying what is particularly disturbing is that despite attempts to contact the defendant's parents, they could not be reached to verify or supplement any information. The judge stated, referring to the recent undertaken by officials, "It has been said before, but it still bears repeating. It is the apathy and total lack of concern for the welfare of their children that is one of the major reasons for the high level of serious crime committed by young persons over the last 2 or 3 years." That was a quote. However, the judge added that Wright was now 20 years old and had to take accountability for his own actions, and despite the best efforts of his lawyer, the defendant had not made the task an easy one. Speaking directly to the defendant after the ruling, the judge added that he should put his intelligence and talents identified by the social workers to better use and move away from his criminal behavior. As the man walked away from the bench, the judge added, "Perhaps I'm wasting my breath." And so said, so done. Definitely, he was wasting his breath. His criminal history and activity have definitely not slowed down. Not at all. He's in court again this morning on indictment 37 of 25. That is a mention. Long and extensive history. Parents failing their children. There you have it in the judge's own words. Absolutely nothing surprising here whatsoever. Just like Evanie is failing her own children, right? She's failed little Alissady, and that has led to her death. She's failing her other children. She wasn't even there most days in court, but you know who was there? The newest girlfriend of Devon was there blowing him kisses, even after she now has a court case before the courts for sneaking drugs into the prison. She has the audacity to show up to court, despite there being a no contact order in place. She still shows up to court, sitting there blowing him kisses, and he's blowing her kisses. Talk about lack of respect even for the family. These people have no conscience whatsoever. They do not care. And Evanie, I'm going to put you in the same bucket that says that you don't really care. What you have done to date has been performative, right? You want people to think that you're the mother of the century, and the truth of the matter is completely different. You put on an act. I am begging you now, to stop acting. Somebody says, which parents, his father who is as big a criminal as he is, or his mother who never gave a shit to begin with? Stop the acting and tell the truth. Everything. Your soul, and this is my sincerest prayer, will never have a day of rest until you do right by this child. Telling a half story wasn't enough to get him convicted. You allowed the jurors to sit there and go, we don't have enough. We don't understand the motive. We don't understand the relationship between these parties. You needed to tell more. Why didn't you? Someone says a mother needs to go to jail for child abuse. How do you get with someone with such an extensive criminal history and bring him in your house around your own child? What mother does that? That is a mother who actually does not care about her child. A man who's sitting there constantly smoking 15 spliffs a day? What the hell? Someone says maybe the change of the baby pamper was after they killed her. The struggle of them killing her probably caused her to wet or poop herself. Just my thoughts. Good morning. Wasn't Devon Wright the one who also murdered his uncle in Prospect because he just come out of jail? He has never been convicted of another murder. I know that his name has obviously been connected to other things. People do feel in the community that he's responsible for some other more serious crimes, but he has always managed to get off on those. This person says, was the baby sexually assaulted, or do they even know? This person says, and I'm pretty sure that legal secretaries at Maples and Calder make a comfy salary. Well, I mean, I struggle to see if she was living within her means, why she was struggling so financially. And that's a question. That's a really, really serious question. And it's because of the drugs. I mean, listen, you could be making $100,000 a month. And if you have a serious drug habit, you'll never be able to afford life. Right? Because it takes money to support those habits. This person says Sandra and Thomas was seen at that apartment way. All this happened after she was missing. He went there acting as if he was so concerned. I worked with his baby mother at Walker's. So, like I said, there needed to be much more of a connection drawn between all of these parties. In fact, Thomas was supposedly one of the people that they called, and this did come up, to discuss, what's trying to help him find he was going to come and help with the search. He's one of the people that they actually called. Unbelievable. Somebody said she did it. I can tell you the story. Child, I'm all ears. I am all ears. Here's another commenter weighing in, saying the parent should be charged because why is an underage girl out at those hours? Oh, that was the earlier conversation of the night, attending an adult party, and the party host also, because who do they have at the gate checking IDs? It's not all about money. Rumor has it that Junior has a mentally challenged sister in the BRAC that fought the mother a couple weeks prior and threatened her that she would harm her baby. Junior, being Devon Wright, was made aware of that, of what transpired, and called his uncle to help him get rid of the baby because he didn't want his sister to go down for what she did. So the uncle and Junior get rid of the baby. That's why he was found not guilty. Should have been charged as accessory of involvement. But none of this would have made any sense because the Crown's case did not explain any of this. And there's no evidence that shows that the sister or anybody else was there during the time of the child's death. This person goes on to say the uncle died in a car accident 1 year later. Karma worked fast with him. The rest is yet to punish. I don't even think it was a year. I think it's more like 7 months. Jaja, good morning, says, mine failed me and I made the choice to make a change for the better. So we all have a choice. They only worry about the wrong things. But someone was going to talk the truth. Trust me, they would have known. If it was a spliff or a $5 hit, I bet they would have solved that. Okay, my justice system is a joke. Poor little girl. The streets would have locked up all them. Oh, the states, I think, would have locked up all them, and they all were going to get time. Very sad. Juliet says, amen, 100% speak the truth, Auntie Sandy. Parents failing is no excuse. Well, it makes it, listen, it makes it very, very difficult, Jaja. I understand what you're saying, especially when we become adults, we do have a choice. But when that's the only life that you've ever known, that's in your entire life, that's not easy. And some people cannot, despite their best efforts, I suppose, they cannot pull themselves out of the situation. And Devon is obviously one of those examples. Right? If you grew up never seeing positive examples of your life, if you grew up not having anyone care about you, even if intellectually you can understand, like, oh my God, my life would be so much better if I wasn't sitting here smoking 15, 20 spliffs a day, but that's all you know. That's your life. Robbing from people, doing all this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know, boy. Just unbelievable. Yeah, so she didn't have a good relationship with the sister, but there's no indication. Was the sister even in the bracket at the time? I can't quite remember now, but the child's mother not even here. She's in Honduras. Since when? Was it? But wasn't she there on Friday? What a mess. What kind of mother? This is what somebody else says. Hold on. And I really think that this mother, like I said, she has a lot to answer for. Any way you slice this, she has a lot to answer for. I believe 100% that she killed that child. Let's not talk about motive. Too many to name, but one is that she simply didn't want her and didn't want her father to have her either. I do believe he helped dispose of her body, but she is as guilty or more guilty than he is. What kind of mother has this type of person around her children? A helpless 2-year-old? Where were the other children? This is all suspicious. And don't tell me that because she was the one who called for a second report, that she isn't a likely suspect. This is like a catch me if you can episode. Same thing I'm saying. She used his criminal history to cover her own crime. May she have the life she deserves. Exactly. And she gone Honduras already since Friday? When did she leave for Honduras? No, sir. What a hot mess. She wasn't even showing up to the court, like I said. Like, she didn't seem bothered. Not at all. The grandmother and other family members were there. They were showing up. This woman looked like she cared. Kaboom. Corey says the other children was me that next day. That next baby. Hold on. The other children was with me. That next baby dad, FYI. So Corey, she has 2 kids with you? Because I think she has a total, she had 3 children, right? So you're the father of the other 2 kids and you're saying that they were with you. Come, Stacey. What a hot mess. Ms. Brenda says a prime example of sloppy, thank you, or non-investigation, and then to top it off, a seriously botched prosecution. Corey says, talk facts or keep quiet. Yes, she has 2 kids with me. Well, one thing we know, I mean, your children might be alive because you got them. Because we all know she's not a good parent. That is not up for debate. Like I said, Kim and Brackers knew it. The police on the Brack knew it because she'd left your 2 children and this little one in the car on previous occasions, playing on their iPads. Sorry, I gotta have some breakfast this morning. I feel like I need some energy. Playing on their iPads as she was in a bar drinking. And then police come and tell her, oh, don't do it again. Really? She should have had the children taken from her at that point in time. She should not have even had this baby, if you ask me. Not the kind of mother I heard she was. But you find this all the time. Right here in Cayman, these no good mothers, they know they're not no good. They don't want the child. But because they don't want the father to have the child, they're going to do everything in their power to try and make his life miserable, the family life miserable, everything just to spite people. Corey says, I know about all that. That's why my kids are safe. Thank God. My goodness. What a hot mess. This person says, did she flee to Honduras knowing that she may be next in the courts? It's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know when she went to Honduras, but I tell you what. The crazy thing is, it is still very possible that the prosecution could go after her. And I had a theory from the onset of this trial that if he was found guilty, the prosecution would then hope that maybe he would flip on her and they could go after her. But you see, they needed her in the first trial to testify against him. That's why, in my opinion, they haven't charged her yet. However, now that they have lost this case, I think they need to go back to the drawing board and have a look at the mother again. But if she run off to Honduras since Friday, my God. You mean to tell me they never had a stop notice in place for her where she couldn't go to Honduras? Interesting. I don't know what she got to Honduras for. This person says, I used to work with her. It was always something with her. Her kids switch schools every 5 minutes. Someone talking about their experience with Thomas. Let's not forget that he and Jeffrey Barnes served time for the same rape of an underage girl in Northside. Oh, wow. Really? Mm-mm. My God. Oh, my goodness. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Wow. My God. Well, we're going to continue to monitor the situation. And this person says that she has a knack for picking men. She seems to like criminal men, I can tell you that. So she wasn't there on Friday. I thought somebody had said that she was there on Friday. Oh, I guess she cares so little. She not business with none of it. For a mother who claims that she wanted justice served, I don't know. But yes, I wouldn't be surprised, because my understanding now is she dating some other criminal from West Bay. Only God knows who he is. But she seems to have a certain type. What a hot mess. Corey says that she's here. That person is talking foolishness. Well, I don't know when you check the last manifesto Honduras, but okay. Happy for you, bro. Keep them the way. This sounds 100%. He says, I can't disagree with you, Sandra. I mean, she needs to do better, you know? And unfortunately, she is still of a particular age and have a ton more children. So you men need to make sure that nobody else not getting her pregnant, because that'd be more children at risk. Very bad. Jess says they all need to tell the truth, because in my opinion, it's not been half told yet. Leroy said Carmen might catch her there. They should have offered him immunity and give him an incentive to talk. I think that's the only way we'll ever know what happened. Baby Alicity's father and grandmother deserve to know what happened to their baby. Well, I mean, immunity, think about it, is one thing with Devin is he has never taken the stand, and I don't think he's going to be talking to the police. So he would rather take his chances in a court of law, because he's gotten off on so many cases. Although he has an extensive history of being convicted, he has also gotten off on enough cases as well. So in my humble opinion, he would much rather just take his chances than to, be seen to be helping the prosecution or the police. He just remained quiet. He didn't say a single word. And he doesn't have to, because it's for the Crown to prove the case, not for him. And because their case, again, was largely circumstantial, with no clear motive even, as you can see, it worked out in his favor, just remaining quiet. And now there's no motivation for him to talk, right? Why would he? Granted, like I said, given his history, he still could be looking at a maximum life sentence. So there you have it. Someone said, let's not forget that she claimed to have gotten a master's in law after her daughter died, graduating in 2023. If my daughter had been murdered or otherwise died, I would have not have the focus to study no type of law. She also used to work. She also used to use her sickness to work from home and not come into the office. Oh, what sickness? Zeus, cut it out. What sickness does she have? I mean, being a bad parent is a sickness, but I don't think that's what she was telling them. They need to check her behavior in the BRAC, especially the landlord that removed her from his place days before the child's death. Okay. What a hot mess. So that's why she was in the BRAC, allowed to work remotely, because she claims that she was sick. But she had time to be doing cocaine, so I don't know what kind of sickness that was. Maples didn't know she was living over there. What a hot mess. I mean, what? Okay. Zeus, cut it out. Ah, stop it. Lie down. My God. Yeah, no, I understand, Miss Brenda, but I don't think that even in past tense, I don't think that he ever had any real fear of probably getting convicted. So there you go. Vicky says all of them in that house know what happened. I wonder if the child was raped. Hate to say so, but this is just so sad. I mean, that was my first initial thought as well, is that maybe there was an attempt at sexual abuse or sexual assault that then went bad. I mean, let's be clear. People who can sit there and smoke and do drugs all day, they don't really have much in the way of self-control. So I've always wondered that if maybe this poor little child, that this murder was an attempt to cover up a sexual assault. I don't know why that has always been in the back of my mind as like a real motive. I hear of the connection with the uncle and the drugs and whatever. You know, I feel like this was not a planned situation. I feel like this was a spur of the moment murder. And one of the things that would explain why you would even kill a little girl like this is you were trying to silence her in the middle of attempting to do something to her. That has always been my gut feeling. Well, because the HSA messed up the pathology report, who knows if they checked for any signs of sexual abuse or molestation. And maybe it didn't even go that far yet before he killed her, you know? The fact that the mother said that she could smell, which is just such a disgusting image, him sweating in that child's room. What the hell would you have been doing in the child's room to begin with, to even get the room all sweaty? I don't know. This sits, you know, like I said, from the word jump, I always felt like the mother knew more. And I also believe that this may have been a case of an attempted sexual assault gone wrong. Yeah. Vicky says, take her to the iron shore, maybe wash her, and there goes the evidence. All right, folks. We're going to keep you updated on the abduction sentencing. Roar says that cocaine makes you sweat. So if you high up and moving about in and out. I was just about to wrap up. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning, dear.
How are you?
Not bad. How you doing?
Oh, I'm grateful. Got some
Good.
rain this weekend.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, got some lovely rain.
Okay.
My carport is all wet and peeling that hard.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Sandra, I want to ask you a question, please, because I've heard mention of it, but I didn't hear that there was any footage or any evidence from it. I heard they spoke about this Ring doorbell, right? And as far as I know, they are for the purpose of having cameras in them that you see who comes to your door and so on. And depending on the range, you can see a distance away. I mean, there could be an explanation. Assuming it was working, did they any footage from it? Because I haven't heard that mentioned in the case. And if they didn't, did they give an explanation as to why?
I would have to ask. Let me ask somebody else who was there through most of it. I would have to inquire about that. I'm not sure, so I don't want to tell you something that I don't know really.
Okay. No, I just asked because, like I said, in the trial itself, it was mentioned that the door had one, but no evidence brought from it and no explanation given as to why. That evidence was lacking. And my last comment on this is all of this evidence comes from her. And you would have to assume that she was being truthful at any stage to believe any of this and to go solely on her information. I consider the biggest travesty in this whole matter. And as I said before, if they really wanted to go and get justice for the baby, he is the most likely person that would have talked. But they were going to have to give him something in return. That's why I said offer him immunity in the murder trial, the murder charge. And maybe even reduce one of his other sentences. Remember, once he takes the witness stand, even if he implicates himself, they can't charge him if he has immunity. Because I think the only way we'll ever know, and for his grandmother and his father, I know they would want to know. I think he is the most likely person that is going to tell the truth. Because the other witnesses testifying against him contradicted themselves. And in my opinion, if you listen carefully, they have implicated themselves. And to consider where they keep saying diapers, I don't know if they mean the old-fashioned ones or whether they mean Pampers. Finding them wet in a place doesn't mean anything. They could have been wet there from 2 days ago. So what does that prove? All I can say, everybody failed this baby. Going back to child services, when the reports were being made, the police, now the prosecutors, they have all failed this baby. And the saddest part is, when I speak of the grandmother, I'm speaking of the baby's paternal grandmother. When the grandmother and the father were in constant communication with the police, they were being lied to. I'm going to say it straight, because at that time, they had closed the investigation, but they were never told that. This is sad. This is very sad. And to jump, to charge him with no evidence, you watch the case. Now, he has no incentive to assist them.
Well, I think that I'll be honest with you. I think that given his lengthy and extensive criminal history, it probably would have been unlikely that he would have ever played ball with the police on any front. And I mean, putting out there that he might actually get a lesser sentence with all his other criminal stuff going on, I'm not so sure that that's an incentive for him either, because he always goes in thinking he's going to win and he's going to get off completely, right? And some of these other matters just happened right before the trial started. But he's a lifelong criminal, so you'll find the police are less inclined to want to offer any kind of a plea deal with a lifelong criminal who is, I mean, if this is his first murder, that would be shocking. But if he continues to be out in the streets, it certainly wouldn't be his last.
Sandra, you just said something that I'm going to correct you on. because I know you do to me. We cannot say it's his first murder. He was acquitted, okay? We can't even say allegedly anymore. He was a trial. He's never acquitted. So on his record, he don't have murder. Let's be clear about that, because I wouldn't want anyone.
I've said that very, very clearly.
Right. No, but what you just said. Anyway, I said
I would be surprised if this was a first for him. This man has done serious wounding, stabbing, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but to adults, not to children. He doesn't have a history of endangering children. He doesn't have a history of being a negligent parent. Let's look at all of those things. They lacked motive. Motive pointed elsewhere for reasons we are all finding out, and some of us already knew. But the point I am making is it doesn't matter how hardened a criminal you are. I don't care what the criminal record is. There's always a carrot that can be dangled, and especially if he knows he wouldn't be charged with murder or as an accomplice to the murder. Like I said, knowing that he didn't have to stand trial and hope to be acquitted because there was no evidence against him, that may have given him more of an incentive to assist the police in this matter. And not because he has a criminal record does it mean he may not have. This is different. The other charges were not murder. It didn't carry a mandatory life sentence. This murder does. So we never know. But that is something that they didn't consider. And a lot of times, you have to choose the lesser of two evils. And as they say, the first one that talks gets the deal. There's one deal on the table. Who wants it? But they went after him, which was a stupid thing to do, lacking all the evidence that was required. They could have waited. They could have waited. And I'll tell you one thing that I know. And any police officer that has passed academic stage will tell you, when there is a person pointing at someone else, that is the person you look closer at, because only a guilty person does that. And I believe you with that one.
Thank you very much. Someone has this thought. This is to answer the question now about the Ring camera. So a Ring camera was at the neighbor's unit. The Ring had been fitted to the unit from the entrance, but the Ring subscription was never activated. And so no recording was taken. But the Ring unit was later found on the beach somewhere in the vicinity of the body of baby Alissady, where baby Alissady was found. Nothing else really comes to mind about the Ring. So there you go. Someone had the motive to remove that camera from the neighbor's door because they didn't know, obviously, whether it had the subscription active or not. Wow. Well, that certainly proves a certain state of mind to have to go that far. What I would say is a lot of people don't know this, but yes, you can have a Ring camera that works when somebody rings the doorbell, so you can see who's there in real time and you can talk to them and whatever. But if you don't have the subscription, it's not recording for you to go back in time. And in my opinion, those cameras are useless without the subscription, really. They become just an intercom system. So Anthony says, I don't think the caller is using the right word, immunity. I think the right word she's looking for is for substantial assistance, not immunity. Why would we let him off without prosecution? How can we even trust what he's going to provide? Again, this would be a word of situation of his word versus hers. So I don't really think that, again, the word of a criminal, yes, she was a horrible mother, but she also had no convictions. She wasn't a lifetime criminal. So why would you believe him over her in all totality? I'm just saying. And the fact that he's never hurt a child before doesn't mean that he didn't do it. Criminals graduate to different level of offenses. I'm sure the very first time he committed an armed robbery, that was his first time. And the very, very first time he did a burglary, that was his first time doing a burglary. So, criminals, they get there one way or the other. So, I don't know. What a hot mess. So this person said that cloth diapers used regularly many decades ago, and they're disposable diapers that are generally used present day. Pampers is the name of the brand of disposable diapers, not the actual product itself. Why would someone be forthcoming with information with an immunity deal for one particular charge when they have so many other sentences pending as well as currently serving time? It benefits him in no way whatsoever. That was, my apologies, that person's opinion there. Someone said that she claimed to have had some sort of a autoimmune issue. And supposedly, and I don't know, she was still living her best life. She supposedly had some autoimmune sickness and was allergic to everything under the sun, yet could be in bar room and restaurants and couldn't be in the office because of food allergies. Maples tried with her. I'm sure it was a sigh of relief when she left. Likewise with her other druggy friend that worked on the same team. Orville Richardson girlfriend, whoever the hell that is. They got rid of her this year. Wow. What a mess. So Anthony says, do you remember the Nancy Guthrie case? They recovered video. Without it, the case brought out some privacy issues. Yeah, I mean, they went to Ring, and I guess there's a certain small amount, it wasn't very much, that was recoverable from their servers. And that doesn't mean that she didn't have a subscription, though. I can't remember off the top of my head the details about that, but they cover anything from the physical camera, but then they went to the Ring servers and recovered stuff. And that is where they were saying that, yes, there was a bit of a privacy issue there potentially. But I'd have to double check to see exactly, because she might have had the subscription, but was it that the Ring camera itself was destroyed? I can't remember what it was, to be honest. I'd have to go and look it up. So I'll have to have a look at that. There's an actual story here. So the FBI released a video showed a masked person at her doorstep, but the footage appears to have been retrieved from a Google Nest camera that officials previously said was disconnected and lacking an active monthly subscription for premium features. Without a subscription, users cannot typically store footage. The publication of the footage from Guthrie's home indicated that law enforcement could still access residual data located in back-end systems. In the words of the FBI director, Kash Patel, cybersecurity experts have said this may be because doorbell cameras often have backup stored in a cloud. It's currently unclear whether law enforcement used a warrant and so on and so forth. And I can tell you one thing we know for sure. RCIPS didn't contact Ring and didn't go through any of those steps. We can feel confident, that much we know. And by now, because there was no subscription, even if there was any residual evidence, that would not probably go past 30 days. Remember now, the early stages of this, they are working on the assumption that was a drowning, according to the pathology report. And so that comes right back to the question of precious time being wasted in the early days of the investigation. Go watch the first 48. And so who's going to be held responsible for that? This case has been messed up, and I wouldn't blame the prosecution. The prosecution only had what they had. I understand Ms. Brenda's point that maybe they should not have charged him. They should have continued to wait. But the most critical period here, the police were misguided because of the pathology report saying that this child drowned and it was accidental. They pretty much closed the case. Why are we not hearing any accountability about the HSA? And why that pathologist is still working at the HSA and hasn't been fired? And why hasn't Lizette been fired either? I'm just saying, these are the constant screw ups that we're seeing all the time at the HSA, and nobody's asking the questions. Nobody's doing anything about it. Morning, Sarah Sue. Was the time of death confirmed? I think, unfortunately, again, that although there were certain things they were able to determine in the subsequent pathology reports, because all of that time had gone and had been wasted in the collection of important bits and pieces from Cayman's pathologist, because it was the overseas pathologist who concluded that this was homicide. Nobody in Cayman. So, I mean, they had narrowed it down, right? And so, I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's a hot mess. Corey says lawsuit coming, no worries. Well, I hope to God it's not the mother that planned on suing anybody. So yeah, so they're not allowed to charge him with murder again because that would be double jeopardy. So he's protected against that. He could confess tomorrow and nothing would be done. Why wasn't the mother charged with child neglect? What a mess. Sorry, but I pray for the child's mother, the guy charged, and his current girlfriend. May they never have a moment of night of peace until they tell the truth. I pray mental madness finds them all, including anyone else involved. Like I said, on the face of it, she's out here living her best life, but I really hope and pray that that is just a front and that in actuality, she is going to pay for this. One way or the other. Very, very sad situation. Okay. The established timeline, Sarah, so I'd have to go back in my notes. But there was about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour that that he certainly can't account for. And that is the time in which they say that this could have been possible. It could have been possible for him to walk her there and come back. There was a 45-minute window at least. Let me just try to see if I can find my notes around the timeline. But so at 8:45 p.m., Alissady appeared alive and well during a video call with relatives. Wright and his cousin arrived at the apartment shortly after midnight. Dixon, the mother, allegedly checked on her daughter at around 1 a.m. and again around 4 a.m. During the second check, she changed the toddler's wet clothes before putting her back to bed and observed no injuries. About an hour later, she heard the apartment door open and close. When she went to check on the child later, she was not in bed. She found Wright outside and asked if he saw the child. He said he did not, and they both searched for her. Dixon called 911 when they failed to locate Alissady. A search was launched, and then Alicity's body was discovered around 9:30 a.m., 0.7 miles from the apartment. The pathologist Dr. Lockyer, testified that he found hemorrhaging around Alicity's left eye and inside her right eye socket, supporting the conclusion that force had been applied to the child's neck. Again, how did the Cayman pathologist miss all this? He further testified that the injuries to the front of the neck and internal structures were caused by applied force rather than an accident, noting that the neck is a protected area and would not ordinarily sustain such injuries in a simple fall. Addressing the possibility of drowning, Lockyer said that X-rays showed no evidence of fluid in the child's lungs, although he acknowledged that this finding alone was not conclusive. However, he said CT scans together with the other medical evidence supported the conclusion that drowning was not the cause of death. He also agreed that Alissady, who was found barefoot, had no injuries to her feet that would have been expected if she had walked across rough terrain or iron shore. So, yeah. Crazy. Quite sad, really. In the UK, the law on double jeopardy has changed. In certain serious cases, a person who's previously been acquitted can be retried. However, for this to happen, the prosecution must present new and compelling evidence that was not available or presented during the original trial. Interesting, Greg. And of course, I doubt that they have anything new and compelling, unless the mother steps forward and tells the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Why was she buried so quickly? I mean, I don't recall. I mean, here's the thing, right? You don't normally just hold on to a body because you collect all the evidence that you need at the time. And the pathologist would have done supposedly a thorough investigation to collect all of that data. So, I mean, holding on to a body doesn't further an investigation if the pathologist actually does their job from the onset. If they don't do their job, then obviously that's a problem. But holding on to a body would do what? Sarah Sue says the south side is extremely dark at night and pure rock and iron shore. No toddler would have walked during a storm at night on the south side to anywhere, period. It took them so long to come to that conclusion. Shameful investigative work. I'm ashamed at how this whole thing was conducted. That baby deserved better, says Sarah Sue. And indeed, she does, and she still deserves better. And we have to pray that something, that justice is ultimately served. Really, really crazy. This person says, in what scenario would a 2-year-old be so quiet that no one heard her, but then the mother was able to hear the door open? Well, she said the door was actually slammed shut. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the size of the apartment. I don't know how far her room was from the baby's room. You know, it's possible that it wouldn't look at this, right? If you were choking a 2-year-old, even if she let out a little bit of a whimper, that it's possible that would not have been heard, even in an apartment in a different room. So, I mean, the pressure of an adult hands around a child's neck, I kind of feel like that's very, very possible. So I don't know. Not 7 miles, 0.7 miles from the apartment. 0.7 miles, not 7. So let me just make sure that is fully understood. It was 0.7 miles, not 7 miles. Okay. We'll continue to, so that's less than a mile, right? We'll continue to monitor this case, obviously. I don't know when the sentencing has been, they'll have to get reports together and all that kind of stuff for sentencing and the abduction charge. So we'll definitely monitor that. But I suspect that the judge is going to be throwing the book at him for the abduction charge, given his lengthy criminal past. So we'll keep you updated on where we are with that. All right, folks. And that's as much, I think, as we can really say at this point. Amori says lots of missing links. Wasn't there a bad storm that night? They did say that there was a storm. I mean, I don't know how bad is bad, but some kind of rainstorm was that night. Ms. Brenda says, Sarah, so you and I know that, but clearly they were acting as usual with tunnel vision, and that's why they botched the entire investigation and prosecution. Well, they botched it for one primary and singular reason, and that's because of the pathologist's report. So the police are told by a medical expert who that's their job, that's their area of, that this was an accidental drowning. And so from the word jump, they were not looking at very much, because once a pathologist tells you this is the cause of death, you go, okay. Because they're supposed to be the experts. That's why the autopsies in these types of cases is so critical to a case. Without it, you cannot charge anybody with a murder. If the pathologist says there's no murder, no matter what your policing tells you, you can't go to court and says we're going to ignore what the pathologist says because we think a murder was committed. No matter what they think. Unless you have a corroborating autopsy report, pathologist report, you will never be able to take somebody to court for murder. Marshall says, how I see it, he abducted her. He killed her, plain and simple. Had he not abducted her, she would have been alive. And this is the part now that's a little bit bizarre with how the jury was trying to work their brains around this, because they obviously found that there was sufficient evidence of abduction. Why would you abduct her? To do what? To keep her alive? If you found sufficient evidence of abduction and then she ended up dead, and I don't know. I think they just had a split jury and then they couldn't convince those people. So the ones who were saying, no, not enough, they convinced everybody else that there just wasn't enough. And so they all came back with a not guilty verdict. That's what I think. Instead of delivering, and I don't know how this works. I actually need to ask someone on the criminal side. But had they say we have a hung jury on the murder and manslaughter, and there's no possibility of resolving that, but we do believe he abducted her. And so, yes, on the abduction and hung and everything else, I think that would have been a better outcome, because at least with a hung jury, they could then turn around. And I'm going to ask one of my lawyer friends this question. Because then they could have turned and charged him again, or did a retrial at least. Not charged him again, but actually did a retrial. But the fact that they came back with not guilty on those, that's it. It's very, very difficult to appeal a not guilty jury trial. And it's important to understand that there is a distinction, an appeal between jury trials and the other ones in judge alone. So there you have it, folks. I think that's as much now as we could possibly say about this. We'll continue to keep you guys updated on what happens from here. And yeah, what more can I say? All right, folks, have a good day. On tomorrow's program, what did I tell you? Oh, we're going to talk about the Beat of Your Heart drumming event this weekend. I do want to spend some time because I think that was such an amazing event for children to be involved in. And so I'm going to prepare that video footage for tomorrow's show. So please tune in, 7:30 a.m. We'll be right here. Kids are getting ready now to go back to school. So, of course, parents are still doing some last-minute preparation and shopping. Government schools begin on the 26th, I think, for most of them, if not all, with some orientation dates. So let's make sure that we pay attention to what the orientation dates and stuff are, okay? There's a number of important proposed bills that are coming forward from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Well, now it's Ministry of Health, Environment, and Sustainability. And please pay attention to these. We're already running some PSAs for government. We want you guys to participate in these consultation periods as much as possible to give your feedback.
As Minister for Health, Environment and Sustainability, I'd like to personally invite you to join me at one of our upcoming public town hall meetings. We're discussing proposed changes to legislation covering environmental health, tobacco and vaping, public health, health practice, and I want to hear from you. Whether you have questions, concerns, or ideas to share, these meetings are an opportunity for open conversation about issues that affect us all. Join us at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 26th of August at the John Gray Memorial Church Hall in West Bay, or at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, the 27th of August at Constitutional Hall in Georgetown. Come out, meet your neighbors, share your perspective, and be a part of shaping the future of health in our islands. Light refreshments will be available, and I look forward to seeing you there.
The government is inviting the public to share their views on proposed changes to tobacco and vaping laws. The proposal aims to protect our young people, strengthen vaping rules, and address concerns about disposable vapes. We want to hear from parents, educators, businesses, and the wider community. The consultation opens on the 21st of August. Log on to publicconsultation.gov.ky to help shape the future of tobacco and vaping policy in the Cayman Islands.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.